Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user CarThrowaway9. I, 23 female, won a free car. My boyfriend, 25, and his family seem to think I'll give it to him for free. So I, 23 female, won a brand new compact car in a raffle I entered a few weeks ago at a trade show I was at for work. This is awesome, but I already have an older car that I really like and I just finished paying it off, so I can finally pay the cheaper liability-only insurance. My car still has a lot of life on it. It only has about 100,000 miles, and if I were to choose a brand new car, it would not be the one that I want. I did some research, and after taxes and shipping, I can make about $14,000 to $15,000 from selling the car. That money would be an incredible amount to just start with after graduating college. It would more than triple my savings. My boyfriend, 25 male, of a little over a year, has been without a car for a few months. He's been struggling a bit financially, so he hasn't gotten a new one yet, but he can walk to the grocery store, he gets a ride to work, and I drive him anywhere else. It's worked out fine and I really don't mind. He helps out with gas and driving. For background, he lives with friends. I live with my dad for free, so I am able to save up money. I definitely see a future with him, but we aren't at the point where we've talked about moving in together yet. But we are very serious though. Anyway, I went to a gathering at his parents' house last night. His whole family has been wonderful and welcoming to me, and everyone congratulated me on winning the car. But everyone, including my boyfriend, seemed to think the logical and obvious step was to either give it to my boyfriend or give him my car and keep the new one. I don't plan to do either of these things. It would be different if we were married or living together and our money was mixed together, but it's not. We aren't at that point in the relationship yet. I don't want to give him what would essentially be $15,000 in cash. It doesn't make any sense. If I'd won the money instead, there wouldn't be any talk of just giving it all to him. The car and the resulting money should be mine. It's not my responsibility to provide him with a free car, whether it be my $5,000 car that I really like or this brand new one. For the rest of the dinner at his family's house, I just stayed quiet because I was so shocked at their assumption and didn't want to rip it away from him in front of his entire extended family. How do I break this to him and his family that this car and the money from it is not in any way his? What? They expected you to give him the brand new car? Man, they're delusional. Anyway, OP, first things first. Good on you for knowing what you need to do, that this is yours and you shouldn't let his family try to pressure you or bully you or assume you into giving him the car. Second, I also think it's a good thing you didn't say anything at that dinner or it could have caused a big outburst. What I think you need to do is sit down with your boyfriend and tell him how things are going to be. If he can't accept that, then I guess that's it. Hopefully your boyfriend will have some more common sense than just assume that because you won a car, it's his to have or something like that. Because you're absolutely right, if you would have just won the money, then nobody would be expecting you to give him anything. Also, I think you need to tell him how uncomfortable and unfair it was for his whole family to put you on the spot, and instead of shutting them down or standing up for you, he went along with it, because he might get a free car, right? So OP, just sit down with your boyfriend, be honest, and do it quickly, because the longer you wait, the more time they have to actually believe this is going to happen. And what do you guys think? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Folkson says, hey, so I didn't want to make a scene with your family, but just to be clear here, my plan with the car that I want is to sell it for cash and use that to get a good start on life. I'm not sure where anyone got the impression that I'd just be handing over the equivalent of $15,000 in cash, but that's not something that's going to be happening, and I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page about that. Hopefully, he'll accept that gracefully, it won't be a big deal, and you'll move forward together normally. If he does kick up a fuzz about you giving him a car, you're going to have to make a decision about whether that kind of entitlement is something that you want to be in a relationship with. You're right that if you were married or even had lived together for several years with joint finances, the situation might have been different, but the two of you don't even live together yet. Him expecting a multi-thousand-dollar gift as his by right of dating you is a bit much. Just stand your ground. If he says something like he'll make payments to you for the car, then advise him that you'll be willing to sell the new car to him for the full value if he will take out a loan so that he's making payments to the bank rather than you. You don't want to be in the position of having to collect money from him either in or outside of a relationship. Don't sell him your old car, as you don't want to keep the new car, and it would just be a way of getting less cash to keep something that you don't care for. Winston Dresden says, I am shocked at their entitlement also. It could be that they were just being exuberant and got carried away. I think my advice will be to proceed as if they were joking. Now, I have to really decide what to do with the car. I can't afford to keep it and pay the taxes or insurance on it. I think I'll sell it for $15,000 to pay off my current car, figure out how much we'll have to go to the IRS, and put the rest in savings. PM Me Neckbeards says, you would not ask me to hand him $15 in cash. I am not going to give him the car. I want it, I plan to sell it, and place any money that is left after taxes and a few bills in savings. You have no obligation to give him a car or that much in cash, and you should stick to your guns. If he ends the relationship over it, I think you'll be better off. You've only been together a year. You are 100% correct in thinking it is too much to give him, essentially $15,000. You don't have to change your plans because of theirs. Entitled as F, expectations. Additional information from OP's comments. During the dinner, I kept thinking to myself, how did you all arrive at this conclusion? Seriously, explain to me what your thought process was. But I had to pretend everything was okay. If I gave him the car, then he'd have to pay the taxes and shipping on it out of pocket, and I know for sure that is money he doesn't have. And there was no mentioning of who's paying the taxes, which are going to be several $1,000s, which he could just use to buy a reasonable used car in his price range. The car's manufacturer's suggested retail price is a little over $22,000, so just paying the taxes alone would wipe out my current savings, plus I'd need a more expensive car insurance on it, which he also couldn't afford. Like I said, their assumptions make absolutely no sense, and even if I were to give him the car, it wouldn't be a smart thing to do, when it'd make much more sense for him to get a $3,000 to $4,000 car that he can afford and have cheaper insurance on. And if he was going to spend all that money on a loan for a really nice new car, he might as well get to pick it out and get something he likes, not just this one that was dropped on my lap. Well, the community's pretty clear. OP's boyfriend and his whole family are absolutely crazy delusional if they think OP should give him the car. And OP also gave us a little bit more insight into her reasoning, which is pretty sound. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. So, the day after the family gathering, where everyone assumed that I'd just let my boyfriend use the car for free, I had to drive into the city where I won the car to sign a bunch of paperwork and pay some fees. We both had the day off, so I texted my boyfriend and asked if he'd like to come along so we could walk around the city and go out to eat afterward. He agreed and I picked him up. We hadn't talked about the night before at all. He asked general questions about what it was I had to do today, and I explained that, and then explained how the taxes on the car were going to be several $1,000s, but luckily I could cover them with my savings until I got the money from selling the car. And hopefully it would come out to around $14,000 to $15,000 based on my brother's calculations. He was quiet for a minute and asked, "You don't want to keep it?" And I said no, that I was happy with the older, bigger car I currently have. It better suits our needs and I can pay cheaper insurance on it because it's paid off. Then he said that he didn't realize that the taxes would be so much. It was awkward in the car for a moment and I finally just asked, "Did your family think I'd give you the car to use?" He said his mom told everyone right before I got there that we, meaning boyfriend and I, won the car and that he'd finally have something to drive. He said that he didn't think I'd do that, but he assumed I'd want to keep the car simply because it was new, and that maybe I'd let him use my old car if he took over the insurance payments. But then he very quickly said that he did not realize the taxes would be more than a few $100s. I get his train of thought makes sense given what he assumed about the cost. He agreed that it made the most sense to sell the new car. I asked if he was going to explain that to his mother, and he said that he would, and that she views the two of us as a married couple already because she wants that so badly for him and has been heavily pressuring him to propose to me. That I did not know. Neither of us is at that point where we're even remotely ready for that. We're happy with where we are right now. He promised he'd talk to his mom and explain everything to his family, and that he wouldn't let any of them think less of me. I was worried about that. Also, he's been trying to save up for a car in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. He just wants to be able to fully pay for it so he doesn't have to pay for full insurance. He's not in a massive rush to get a car though, because we've found that it isn't absolutely vital that he has one. It would just be nice if he did. His work slows way down in the winter and he's been struggling a bit, but he expects to do really well this summer, so he hopes to have a nice used car comparable to my own car by the end of the summer. Anyway, he waited patiently while I dealt with the company running the raffle. It ended up taking over 3 hours, and then we had a nice time strolling around the city and I treated us to a very nice dinner. So that's it. Sorry it wasn't crazy dramatic or something like that, but I figured some people would still be interested in an update. Thanks to everyone for the input and support. Well, OP, it doesn't have to be dramatic or something like that in order for it to be interesting. My takeaway is that it is a happy update, that you have a pretty cool boyfriend, that he's level-headed and not some entitled douchebag, and that you have your priorities straight and know how to make decisions. That's great. Also, apparently your boyfriend's mom really likes you, so that's a good thing. You won't have to deal with some crazy mother-in-law in the future if he does propose and if you get married. But like you said, you guys aren't there yet. Anyway, thanks so much for sharing, OP, and all the best in the future to the both of you. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Pro Revenge and it's by user Donachus, dealing with the locker thief in high school. This was back in the early 2000s, probably 2003-2004 school year. Throughout the entire year, there was a crime wave of people having things stolen out of their locked lockers. Not everyone, but enough that everyone knew someone it happened to. The school's only defense about this was that it was our fault for sharing locker combinations with our friends. They also charged us every time we had to get the combination changed on a locker, like after theft for instance, because it was assumed to be our fault. Well, I had my graphing calculator taken out of my locker. I also never gave out my combination to anyone, mostly because my friends were jackasses and we pulled crap on each other all the time. So I was out $150 for the calculator and another $150 to change the combination, getting a locksmith to change out the lock. This is 2003 money, so it's a bit more than now. To anyone who has ever had to buy a Texas Instrument 86 in 2003 or 2004, you'll know how much the things cost. Oh yeah, I couldn't even afford that one. I had to use an old Casio. Well, my dad was drinking buddies with one of the county detectives. I'll call him Detective Buddy and or Uncle Buddy. He went in to talk to the school about this string of thefts going on so he could get the security camera footage for the day my calculator went missing and got completely brushed off as it was a non-existent problem and he must have given out his locker combination. The principal told him he would need a warrant to get the camera footage. Then, when he got the warrant, the school fought the warrant in court citing student privacy. Cue the Pro Revenge. Detective Buddy shows up at our house with a laptop in a laptop bag. He's like, throw this in your locker and tell everyone you know about your brand new laptop. Okay, sure Uncle Buddy. 3 days later, I show up at my locker between classes and the laptop is gone. The bag too. Nowhere to be seen, as is a 24-ounce bottle of Coke and possibly some pens. I take out my phone and text him that the laptop got taken. Stand by for the crap show. Oh, and you reported the theft to the police for your information, he replies back. Okay, I reply confused. I got about the rest of my day and I don't hear anything back. The following morning, Detective Buddy comes to the school with 3 uniformed officers and pull a student, Dave, out of class as well as his mom who works in the front office. The principal is pissed. I don't actually hear the cops, but the principal is pissed to no end that he had the audacity to accuse them of theft and he couldn't just take them out of the school, etc, etc. Well, turns out there was a tracker in the laptop bag and Uncle Buddy got a warrant to search a particular house. The laptop had a value of over $1,000, making it a felony. The next afternoon, he sent up a tent with a table just outside of school grounds. He also had a banner across the top. If you have had something stolen from your locker, see me. By the next morning, Dave and his mom made the paper. Apparently, Dave allegedly used his mom's logging information to get onto the school network and get the locker combinations for basically everyone. Then he just opened random lockers looking for valuables to steal if he didn't get information of a specific locker to steal from. When he set up the stand to get more people reporting thefts, he racked up an astounding number of charges. Each locker counted as a separate misdemeanor unless the stolen object was worth more than $1,000, in which case it was a felony. In less than a week, Uncle Buddy opened and broke an investigation, and they charged Dave and his mom with 9 felonies and 35 misdemeanor charges. When I finally got the story from Buddy, he explained what the situation was. He had me stash a brand new laptop that had a GPS tracking unit stuck in it in my locker, then get it stolen deliberately, and then he got a warrant to search the property it had been taken to. Now, the fun thing to stress is that the laptop was over $1,000 in value, pushing the theft from a misdemeanor into felony level. There were also another 8 felony charges, stuff like jewelry that was stolen from other people's lockers and recovered. So any of the locker break-ins that amounted to over $1,000 stolen was a felony charge, and less than $1,000 was a misdemeanor charge. Cool thing was that because the calculator and the laptop were stolen on separate days and the combination changed between the days, he caught a felony and a misdemeanor charge of me alone. The 9 felony thefts ended up in the $12,000 range total, and the 35 misdemeanor charges were somewhere in the range of $3,000 total in value. Now, that's an awful lot of stuff stolen, but I need to stress that this is only what was proven stolen. Like, this is what they caught him within his possession that they could trace back to someone. They also didn't let him plead to anything. It was Podunkville's highest profile crime in years, and without a doubt, one of the worst crime sprees the county has ever seen in decades. Next up on the revenge, everyone who had been charged $150 to get their locker combinations changed sued the school district in a class action lawsuit. The justification was that the school did nothing to investigate the 44 proven and more than likely 200 plus cases of locker theft, and then charged money to get the locker combinations changed. There were 218 people in the class, and in total everyone got $85 after attorney's fees. The principal also lost his job for being a bonehead and not bothering to attempt to deal with the massive problem that was reported to him going on at the school. The fun thing I need to point out is that the school brought in a locksmith to change out the locks. That's why they justified charging $150. Well, the school already paid those $150 per locker, but they also had to return $100 per locker, meaning that they were out $21,800 plus their legal fees for that class action lawsuit. Next comes the criminal trial and the fallout. The prosecutor's deal was 10 years in prison, 5 in juvie and 5 in adult prison for Dave, and 15 for Dave's mom. Well, they refused that deal and it went to trial. Dave got 1 year prison for each felony, the state minimum, and 1 month probation for each misdemeanor. So 9 years plus 35 months of probation. His mom received 18 years of jail and 6 years probation. Having attended much of the best parts of the trial, I will say this. They had Dave on camera entering 20 plus lockers, and they had them in possession of stolen goods for every single charge they made against him. The judge was also not amused that there were likely other reported crimes that they got away with because they couldn't prove it or they weren't reported. Dave's mom got it worse. That was a fun sentencing to show up for. But the most important thing is that I got my graphing calculator back. It had my name engraved inside of the battery compartment. I still have it as well as a cool story to tell. Yikes, Dave and his mom got what they had coming, didn't they? Nicely done involving Detective Uncle Buddy, OP. Thanks for sharing. Take care. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.